Welcome. You have summoned the Phoenix Gate, or it has summoned you. This gate appears when something in your life is trying to end, and comfort readings will no longer provide you the clarity needed. I am the Golden Rose, your High Priestess, psychopomp through this liminal space. If you are ready for truth and clarity, let the reading begin. What is the current state of my viewer's energy? Ishtar. This can be referring to embracing your feminine energy, but it can also be, Ishtar is also related to the resurrection myth of Inanna, which is basically the divine feminine version of the Christ myth. So this is somebody who has gone through a energetic rebirth of either their masculine or feminine energies. This is Ishtar, but because there is no masculine represented in the deck that I used, I am not going to limit it just to the feminine energies. This could be the masculine energies. So if this is for you, apply this as it fits. Do not hold yourself to a gender, because that is foolish. Where has my viewer surrendered their power? Responsibility. You may feel burdened by responsibilities, but this effort will lead to success. Prioritize your tasks and seek support if needed. Remember, carrying too much alone can hinder progress. Let go of what no longer serves you. So you've turned over some responsibilities, outsourcing some agency, some authority. So there's some submission going on. See, what illusion keeps my viewer compliant to the surrender of responsibility, this feeling of being overburdened? Departure. It's time to leave behind what no longer serves you. This decision may feel difficult, but it leads to growth and fulfillment. Trust your inner call to seek a deeper purpose and let go of the past. You may be surrendering and being compliant in order to prevent that. You believe that if you stand in your power, your authority and agency, and take responsibility for these things or hold somebody else accountable, right? This may be somebody else has done some harm and you are carrying it quietly and in silence, where instead you need to set boundaries. But you feel like if you set those boundaries, it means either you or the connection is going to leave. There's a fear of loss of connection or loss of relationship with a person, place, or thing. This could be work. This could be an environment or a relationship. What truth is my viewer ready to live? See, Wands and Cups. Wands and Cups so far. So not taking action, fear of loss. What truth is my viewer ready to live? That's too many. Too many. Too many. One or two. One is preferred, Mother. Resilience. Challenges may have left you feeling weary, but your strength is unwavering. This is the final push before reaching your goal. Stay determined and trust in your ability to overcome. Victory is closer than you think. Look at how much you're carrying. That is so many wands. So this is a period of stagnancy, right? Because these wands didn't build up because necessary actions were taken when those actions were needed, right? Like if we take small calculated risks when those risks present themselves, those wands don't build up. They get handled, resolved, dealt with, and you move on. You stay in more of a 2 of wands, 3 of wands state, right? You have a choice at a 2 of wands, you plan your action at 3 of wands, and you go. But this is someone who has carried and been silent because of that fear of loss. So the truth that you are ready to live is that you are ready to stand in your strength and say, I have been carrying this for this long, and it is not mine anymore. What boundary must my viewer establish? Collaboration. Teamwork and shared effort are bringing your vision to life. Each person's contribution matters by working together. You'll achieve success greater than what you could accomplish alone. Wands energy is very masculine energy. It's very drive, very go. You may need to tap more into your feminine energy, and that's why Ishtar is here. It's because Ishtar is asking you to put aside your fear of loss of connection, of loss of something important to you in your identity, and to stop carrying this by yourself. You don't need to carry this by yourself. I am picking up trust issues, someone who has been hurt. That's why you're carrying it by yourself, because people have let you down in the past. You may be dealing with learning about codependency and seeing where you were codependent in your life and swinging the pendulum to the other extreme by being hyper independent. But this is telling you it is time to set boundaries with yourself and to not carry things by yourself. There are people around you who will help you. This is ego making you think that people are going to think less of you for asking for help. And you may have felt that way in the past, again, because of disappointment, right? Or you may fear being viewed as the strong one. You've made a whole identity around your past trauma and being hyper independent. It's time to put that down. You have friends, coworkers, partnerships around you waiting to be developed. So set that boundary with yourself. Okay, this is challenging. This looks like somebody who has grown up probably in a home environment or in social environments where when they had needs, their needs were not met. When they spoke up, their words were not heard. And they were left to learn how to emotionally regulate and interpret meaning from the world around them on their own without proper guidance, either through inconsistent authority figures in their lives or traumatic authority figures in their lives in their formative years. And so this has prevented whoever this reading is for from really developing those connections of trust with others and being able to feel like your needs can be heard and met by others. But you are desperately asking for help. This load has become too much, and you are no longer being asked to prove love through endurance. Spirit says, your higher self says, let go, unburden yourself. We are here. Even if Spirit is the one that is asking you to turn it over and rely on them, you are not alone. And the boundary that must be established is around that belief that you are. Because the truth that you are ready to live is that this is too much, and you have been living in this proving love through endurance. You have endured enough. You have endured enough. It is okay to be open to receive. Let us pause at this threshold to take in the view. We have felt what was ending and what truths asked to be faced. Change often comes with grief alongside liberation as we shed these old identities that we were dependent on to survive. They can't carry us forward any further. Before we take flight from here, let's take one audible, slow breath in all the way down to the bottom. Hold. Audible release. Blow it all out. Now let's reveal the wings that you are forming. What decision restores my viewers' authority and agency in this situation that they find themselves in? That was too many. I accept. The first one that came out was guarded. You're protecting yourself from past harms, which means you are projecting your past and these past people, past versions of yourself onto situations that are trying to rise and carry you into the new. And Spirit wants you to be yourself. Of course, it's normal to have your walls up after being hurt, but after a while, your walls may be keeping out just what you may need to heal. Take a chance. You are worth gambling on yourself for. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. You deserve the best. Know your worth. And they're just right here waiting to confirm that for you as soon as you take action. What single action will demonstrate to my viewer that they are crossing into their new phase? What will serve as their sign or signal that they have crossed this threshold and are entering their new phase? Honesty. Not just within yourself, but from others. You will find that you are living with more clarity. There will be less guessing at what the intentions and motives of others are, because there will be less guessing about what your intentions and motives are. Because as long as you are living in this guarded space, it is keeping others from you because they can feel the secrecy. And when they can feel the secrecy that you are holding back, that you are not offering them the trust and comfort of knowing that you can depend on them, it impacts their feelings of worth towards you as well. And that keeps them distant. When people love you, they want you to feel safe and secure with them. When they are being treated like they are being kept on the outside, it does not give them that either, which means you create that feeling of distance within your relationships yourself. This is asking you to let people in. Open the door. You don't have to let in versions of your past. You don't have to lower your standards. In fact, don't ever lower your standards. But people who rise to meet your standards or exceed them, who are living lives you want to live, open the door. You have the ability to set boundaries. You have learned from your past, and you can recognize within yourself when you need those boundaries to protect. Your discernment will help you know who when, where, why, and how. What internal or external support is available to my viewer as they are preparing to open to receive? Well, I split the deck to shuffle, and those two came out. So I accept. The Walker was on top, which is the unknown and a journey. When you take these steps forward bravely into being less guarded, to letting your walls down, and you are walking into the unknown, you will find confidence in your communication, people around you who are willing to listen, people who will hear what you have to say and walk with you. But you will find that you have this freedom. The honesty is in the communication. Walking away from these ideas that you have to do everything yourself. And speaking your truth will bring in the relationships that will help support you as you are pursuing your vision. What message does their evolved self send back to them now? Another deck calling this one. I haven't used this one in a while. What message does their evolved self, their higher self, send back to them about where this journey will take them when they start speaking their truth, advocating for themselves, and walking away from these past limitations, limiting beliefs, conditions, and programming that held their true expression, their authentic expression at bay within themselves? Message does their evolved self send back? In the world, but not of the world. In this card, you see a mountain. The bottom of the mountain is shrouded by mist. Above the mountain in the sky, there seem to be storms and clouds. But at the very peak of the mountain, she is dancing. She has the ability to see with clarity and truth. She is grounded and connected to source. But this perspective allows you to see within and without. You get to see what is true in the physical reality around you, but also know what is true for you inside in spirit. And you will have the ability to walk both of these worlds in balance, right? Comfortable with the truth of the world around you, even with its harshness and its uncertainty, but confident in your ability to trust yourself and to allow that to form relationships around you built on truth, compassion, and integrity. But it's time to stop carrying the world alone. Some of these burdens were never yours to carry. It is time to leave behind the burdens that do not belong to you, to stop carrying them in silence, to embrace your divine feminine energies and be open to receive by speaking your truth, which means speaking up for what you need. Speaking our truth means telling others what our needs are, what our values are when we have been harmed. And overcoming this fear of the loss of relationship that may cause. Because if you speak up about what you need and the person responds negatively to that, they weren't your person. Okay. We want to be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder for others, but that ladder means we meet at the same standards, the same baseline: safety, security, stability, competency, honesty, integrity, right? Those kinds of things. We either meet at the same level or we want someone who is slightly above us so that they encourage our growth through modeling and inspiration, and then we can grow and that will encourage them. And this is how the relationship builds. But when we are in relationship with others who are lower and do not have a growth mindset, that don't at least meet us at that baseline, if they are beneath in their value system, it is easier for them to pull you down than it is to rise to meet you. So look for that seed of growth within others. If you speak your truth and it doesn't lead to compassionate change in the other person, acknowledgement and growth, that isn't your person. And it doesn't mean the other person is bad. It just means their story isn't meant to be entangled with yours. We aren't meant to entangle our stories. We are our own path. And this takes a lot of courage. And because a lot of these beliefs are identities that are deeply, deeply rooted all the way back to childhood. So be kind and be gentle with yourself as you set these boundaries. But you do need to set these boundaries and be willing to move on from relationships that are harming you so that you don't have to carry what isn't yours anymore. It isn't what any of us came here to do. The Phoenix Gate has opened. The fire has claimed truth. The ashes have been witnessed. The wings are forming. What you carry forward from this gate is yours to nurture, protect, and grow. Transformation is rarely loud. It is often quiet choices repeated over time. You are allowed to move at the pace your truth requires. Thank you for crossing this threshold beside me. If this reading spoke to your journey, you are invited to share what resonates in the comments. I would love the opportunity to connect. Until the next gate summons, I send you my love.